Welcome everybody, hope you're doing well. Welcome back to this week's episode of the weekly HOScale newsletter recaps, where we take a look at some of the newsletters going around in the HOScale community. This is the update for the week of January 20th, 2025. And before we get into it, do me a favor, drop me a subscribe if you're new or if you find yourself coming back anyways. Really appreciate it, so thank you in advance. Like the video as well if you enjoyed, and drop me a comment if there's anything here you're interested in or just want to chat. Love going through those. We'll start here, as you can see, with Walthers and their new product Express for January. And as you can see, we have another announcement of another run of GP7s. Lockdown 5 equipped, a couple different paint schemes and variations in these. There's the list of features, as you can see there. They do come with a speaker pre-installed in both the DCC and DCC Ready versions. So you can take note on some of these paint schemes about differences such as winterization hatches or dynamic brakes, whether they're there or not. There's a couple. You got Algoma Central and Santa Fe up first, then a couple more down here as well. The market's pretty saturated with GP7s, GP9s, and the like, so I hope these sell well for Walthers' sake, but unless you're looking out for one of these paint schemes in particular, I think it'll be a little bit of a lower selling item for Walthers just because there's so many in the market. Then we have just a couple more down here as well, with Rock Island, Wabash, and there are undecorated models with different dynamic brake configurations and short hood configurations, the steam generator or standard. So there's that. Moving on to the next announcement. 50-foot AAR double door boxcars. They brought this back. It's been a while since Walthers has done these. They say it's more than 10 years. I couldn't find the exact release date of these, but it's been a little bit. Some neat paint schemes. I love the Burlington Route Red, just personal preference. I don't know if I'll pick one up of these, but here's those paint schemes that they're offering on these models. They look pretty good from these renders. It doesn't look like they've updated much from those original runs because they already had the metal couplers and metal wheels and such. But again, another Walthers proto car, and proto's pretty decent in terms of rolling stock. Next up, another proto boxcar release. This is the 50-foot high cube paper service cars. And a car I haven't seen before in person, the CSX with the big blue writing. I think that's just kind of neat. They're also doing an undecorated model of these as well. Not a ton of paint schemes. As you can see, there's only 4 and an undecorated, so less limited here, but similar levels of detail. You get your metal wheels and metal couplers on these models. Moving on here, we've got the Pennsylvania Railroad X29B boxcars. So all Pennsylvania schemes, modified versions as well as delivered, with sill stiffeners on most of these variations. So you can mix and match errors just a little bit on these cars, or on the general time period, just as built versus modified. They're doing one undecorated model of these as well with the sill stiffener on them. But these will be neat if you're a Pennsy modeler. Moving on to some mainline announcements. We got a 40-foot boxcar, the single sheet with dreadnought end. So look at those schemes. Again, another undecorated model. Glad Walthers is sticking with undecorated options because it allows you to pick up a car, make it into whatever road you like. Next up, second mainline release here, a 40-foot wood reefer with wood ends. Perfect for your transition era models. Something I forgot to mention, everything we're looking at here is expected to deliver in summer 2025 coming up. You can pre-order or you can just pick them up straight through Walthers here. And next up, another mainline release, the 68-foot Railgun Gondola. I do have one of these, and I was surprised that the detail's pretty good. I haven't yet compared it to, say, the Aurora Miniatures version, which I know was top tier, but I think these are really good and they'll fit in really well. I do like that Montana Rail Link scheme, and I haven't seen that before, so that's pretty cool. I think I might buy one of those, or a couple, or all of them. I don't really know. There's a look at those paint schemes for you as well. And finally, in their train line, these are buildings. Got the shopping center kits. So a couple different options for you. There's the lineup and some of the features on there. No figures included or other details, just the structure itself. But that's that for the Walthers new product announcements. Next up, just a quick touch on Walthers' e-update, just to stick with Walthers here. Again, information on their mystery box. You can pick them up in 3 different tiers, $75, $150, or $250. And it says they're worth twice the purchase price. Still looking out to see what people get from those. They say every box is different, and there's no guarantees on what you'll get. So still waiting to try my luck in them. Let me know if you picked one up, and if you got that golden ticket, that's awesome. Just let me know. Be interested to see if you pull anything good from one of those if you're picking one up. Something we've talked about before, the mainline 40-foot ACF boxcar here. That state of main scheme is probably the most popular, in my opinion. It really sticks out in terms of all the other paint schemes. And in the Walthers mainline, they're doing SD60s, which is a miss that we saw from Athearn not doing these Oakway leasing versions of the SD60s that they're now doing in the Genesis line. So Walthers has got your back here with the mainline release of these Oakway leasings. Of course, there's other schemes there as well, but that's the one that's probably the most popular that most people would be looking for. Again, offered with ESU or DCC ready versions. And a little shout out here to a Riverossi model. Like the paint schemes on these models, Riverossi, I don't know much about their rolling stock. I've only seen them for passenger cars and then of course steam locomotives. So if you have any of those, let me know and I'll look into maybe picking one of those up one of these days. Finally, just a shout out here about another book about the Georgetown, Breckenridge, and Leadville Railway from White River Productions. That's all here we have from Walthers for this week. Next up, we'll take a look at our old friend ScaleTrains here. Another reminder that today is the end of their New Year's sale. Different levels of sales on these items here flashing by. It's the same thing that they had before Christmas and that we've talked about before. So today, the day of this upload, is the last day you'll have a chance to pick these up on sale. So if you're interested and you're thinking about buying one anyway, now's a good time. Next up, a little spotlight on one of their newly delivered ES44s in the CSX Heritage Scheme. This is the Conrail Quality version, number 1976. And here's just some neat history about the Conrail. And then a map of the entire Conrail system. Pretty neat to see how far it's spread. And a little more history of them as well. And a reminder, they're doing 2 more runs currently announced of these CSX Heritage units, 2 more sets of 5. So these will deliver later this year and then at the end of this year in the 2 different runs. Seen good things about them. They come in a fancy Heritage box, so that's pretty neat. But again, ScaleTrains is pretty good at ES44s, so good pickup. And in the similar vein of Conrail, this is the Norfolk Southern Heritage Unit version of the same Conrail Heritage. This is one of my favorites. I do have this one as well as 3 others. Did a review on a previous release of these, but pretty similar features. Still very happy with them as well. They do have some still in stock. Of course, the Pennsylvania and Southern have sold out. Those are definitely the most popular. So if you can find one at your local dealer, that's definitely the ones to pick up first if you're looking to pick them all up one day. But all the other schemes look really good as well. Another reminder that their GP40s are running low in stock. Very happy with the Milwaukee Road version I picked up. You can check out my thoughts on that. Here's some information on what's still in stock with them. Doesn't seem like anything is fully sold out, just limited availability across the board. And a reminder from last week's update of a new announcement in their operator line. This is the Trinity 60-foot plug door high cube boxcars. These are in their operator line, so a little bit less detail. But they did include some nice detail shots of these new features that are now in the operator line, which is really nice to see. including molded on grab irons and stirrup steps instead of just lacking them entirely. Again, they're not separately applied metal pieces like we might see on the rivet counter line, but nice detail to include on the more budget-friendly models. Here's a reminder of those paint schemes. And then if you order directly through ScaleTrains, you get a quantity discount, which starts after 6 models are purchased. Pre-orders are due on Monday, February 10th on those and this rivet counter model. Same model, just in the rivet counter line. So tons of extra features. Check out that underbody detail, the different door styles, roller bearing caps on these models as well. And I really think these pictures just make the colors pop. So here's a little bit of information on them as well if you missed it last week, as well as those road names and paint schemes. The quantity discount starts at 12 models on these. You can see it drops down to $49.99. Same pre-order due date of February 10th. And another HO model here, SD40-2s across the board. I'll let this sit here for just a second while I talk about it as it goes through every single road name and road numbers. You can see some of the differences between all of them. Small things like lettering changes, lettering sizes, different warning stickers. You got American flags on some models and missing on others, different horn locations on the same road name. So there's definitely good attention to detail on these models. And something big, you can check out when the models have ditch lights or not too. But that's made its full loop. You can, of course, rewind and check that out as well if you're interested in a specific model. And of course, check them out on ScaleTrains website. A little bit of history here talking about the Union Pacific version, which they've designated as SD40Ns. And here's an easy comparison between the Union Pacific SD40N variations. You can see each road number has its own set of features. And here's a reminder of all of those road names and different paint schemes. You can see the models there with ditch lights are highlighted, of course. Definitely a big draw on this run. Next up, an N-scale model that's arriving soon. Again, not an N-scale guy, but if it's here, I'll talk about it. And these are their GP30s, which of course they've done an HO scale as well. So these will be arriving probably early in February to your dealer or to your doorstep. Let's look at those paint schemes there as well. And this next weekend, they'll be in Amherst. So it'll be exciting to see if they drop another announcement as well, since they just announced those freight cars and the SD40-2s. So we'll see if they have more in stock after this weekend. That's their little blurb about it. And that's all we have for ScaleTrains. We're going to go ahead and take a quick look next over at Broadway Limited. All right, welcome on over to Broadway Limited's update for this week, talking about primarily the Union Pacific Big Boy and HO scale that they have. So recap that the new order deadline is coming up sooner than expected, January 30th. This is because the production run was moved up and it sounds like delivery is actually not June, but later in the fall. So just a heads up on that, but definitely pay attention to that order deadline. They will only be producing models that they have pre-orders for and nothing more. So this might be their way of cutting down on the excess big boys out there. But this is a version that mirrors the Excursion of 2024 with PTC antennas and dynamos on there as well. Then another quick update on the SD40-2s and N scale. This order deadline did pass us by. We talked about it before this deadline as well. Don't worry if you missed that. Some dealers typically order a couple extras. You might be able to still order them through a dealer. But there's a look again, N scale, but nice to see these as well. A couple renders of these models. And they do already come with speakers installed if you're buying the stealth models. And here's a quick look at those end scale paint schemes. And next up, back to HO Scale, the HO Scale UP Bull Moose. Another nice brass hybrid model. They've been collaborating with the UP Historical Society to make sure they're accurate. Lots of neat features on these models. There's so much empty space between the boiler and the wheel sets, which is pretty neat. And the order deadline for these is coming up this week on January 24th, and they'll be in around the end of 2025. And here are a couple shots of these models. And that's all we have here from Broadway Limited. I want to take a quick look over at an update from Prairie Shadows next. All right, just a quick update here from Prairie Shadows concerning their first HO scale locomotive, the GP20C Eco. Just wanted to shout it out because, again, it's their first locomotive. Cool to see another manufacturer jumping into the scene. That looks like it's doing some really nice road-specific detail as well. An update on two of the road numbers because of different long hood configurations. They're also increasing the Canadian price, but if you put a pre-order in before, they'll honor that price for you. And finally, undecorated units. Pre-orders only, won't be produced any besides that. Let's take a look at some of the pictures of the model because they have some new production samples as well. First up here is the product page for this release, the GP20C Eco. Just some information on the features. Nice to see plastic stanchions with the metal railings, just like Rapido's doing, so that's fantastic. Good detail overall, looks like. Here are some of these undecorated production samples, so I'll let you be the judge. I'm not an expert in GP20C Ecos, but I think these include a lot of nice fine details that, as long as the paint doesn't cover them up, should look really nice. You can see all those etched metal additions, like the steps, the radiator grills, as well as wind deflectors and grab irons, of course. Little rear quarter panel shot. And that'll wrap us up here for a quick update from Prairie Shadows. Next up, we'll go ahead and take a look at an update from Atlas. All right, just a quick update here from Atlas concerning models in transit that should have arrived at their warehouse last week. So keep an eye if you're looking for any of these models at your dealer in this week or next week. Start off with a bunch in N scale. GP60s, GP38s, then the Atlas commemorative scheme here for their 100th anniversary, as well as some N scale Trinity reefers. Looking into buying some of those in HO scale, those Tropicana ones, but I haven't done so quite yet. But down in HO scale, just a couple of products arriving soon. U30Bs, some 40-foot containers, and 50-foot double-door boxcars. And then a couple more here in O scale, if you're also buying those. Got a caboose, gallery cars, and high-cube boxcars. Of course, piggybacking off their success of the Metra HO scale bi-level gallery cars. And finally, P42 for the Amtrak in their O scale. Next up, we'll go ahead and move on over to Athearn. All right, welcome on over to the Athearn Dispatcher. Little update on a model available for pre-order. We got the Athearn HO Scale 3-window caboose. The model up above is an EJ&E scheme, but it is in the roundhouse line, so you'll see a couple extra features here on these Athearn models. Just higher levels of detail across the board. So nice to see that move up in product lines. Next up, another model in their standard Athearn line, the 40-foot superior door boxcar. Neat schemes in these as well. And these paint schemes will match exactly what you see up above here. Try to balance it out there. So you can see both the paint schemes and what those models will look like. Pretty good option for you if you're looking into some of those. And a third standard Athearn line, the 45-foot trailers here. Decent variety of paint schemes, as you can see. And some more shipping updates here. They'll also be at Amherst this upcoming weekend. And some models expected in February that we've already taken a look at before, so I won't pull up the product pages again. First up, the Athearn Genesis ICC caboose. This will come DCC equipped or DCC equipped with sound. So two options there for you, but all the lighting is DCC compatible out of the box. An N-scale trailer, very similar to what we just saw up above, but N-scale. And the Genesis SD40-2s that we took a look at before. That's, of course, one of the most popular, the Veterans paint scheme there. A 53-foot trailer in their standard Athearn line. An N-scale TOFC flat cars. The HO scales are in progress as well. And a roundhouse pack of 24-foot ore cars, as well as 34-foot 2-bay ribside hoppers. Those do come with coal loads, both of those, so nice to see. And a model we've taken a look at a little bit in detail before as well, the Genesis GP38-2, now in their Genesis 2.0 standard. Of course, like they call out, lit number boards and class lights. So nice to see those up to the 2.0 standard. Lots of nice paint schemes available in that run. And an update of items now in stock. The standard Athearn line 50-foot ACF postbox car. There's those paint schemes going by. If you had those on order, those are now in stock. And again, they'll be at Amherst as well, so we'll see if they have any additional product announcements. So that could be cool to see. Tune in and I'll keep you up to date to see if we have anything. But that's all here for Athearn. We'll round out today's recap with Class 1 Model Works. All right, and on to our final newsletter of this week from Class 1 Model Works, talking about their GSC heavy-duty flat car upcoming run. This is highlighting the Southern Pacific paint scheme. So just pause for a moment here, let you take a look at some of the road-specific detail on this model. Of course, neat deck detail as well as rotating bearing caps on these models, nice paint. And here's just a reminder of those 14 road names they'll be doing in this upcoming run. But that's all in terms of newsletters I have for this week. One thing, of course, in my mind that I keep bringing up, the Rapido Metra F40PH M-2s look to have been delayed for delivery to the factory until February. So we'll see those coming up next month then. Very excited for those. Those are high on my list, as well as the Broadway Limited Kennefic business cars. We talked about those last week. They were delayed until February as well, just because they were paint matching those cars to the proto cars. So really nice to see them take the time, even though it does mean a little bit of a delay. I'm all right with that. The other models I have on pre-orders seem to be on track for their estimated delivery dates over the next couple months, but I'll touch base as those seem to change or not. But that's all I have for you today. Thanks for joining. Do me a favor, if you did make it this far, consider subscribing. It really means a lot, so thank you so much. Like the video as well if you enjoyed. Drop me a comment here if there's anything you want to talk about, anything you're interested in here, or anything I may have missed with these companies. With that, thank you very much for watching, and I hope you have a great rest of your week.